Well, hello and welcome to episode number 58 of the Schmovie podcast. My name is Steve, and you're also here with my buddies Ronald and John.
Hello.
Hello.
In order, as you just heard.
Yep.
And we're going to be talking about a lot today. We're going to be talking about
new
releases.
We respond to our names being spoken.
That's what happens, yeah. You're very well trained. Two new releases. We're going to feature one of them that we all saw, but Ronald had an opportunity to see one that John and I did not, and we're going to give him a moment to talk about that. And towards the end of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about the timing of this episode worked out really well with our feature film because Oscar nominations came out this week. We're going to talk about some of the highlights, some of the snubs, and some of our, I guess, early thoughts on this year's nominees. So, Ronald, why don't you kind of kick us off and let us know what you thought about this mystery film that only you saw?
Okay, so the movie that I saw was Gangster Squad. Hoy.
Hoy.
So
this is like one of our most anticipated movies.
Yeah, man.
What was last year, but now is
right
2013.
And it turns you into Professor John Frink, apparently.
Right. Or Zoidberg. So it was a movie that takes place in the 1940s, Los Angeles. Sean Penn is Mickey Cohen, ruthless drug dealer, who basically wants to up the ante and start a numbers sort of business. And you kind of follow his wrongdoings. And what makes him so interesting is he's ruthless. No regard for human life. He destroys everything he touches. And basically, one of the bigger sort of heads of the police department in Los Angeles decides that he wants to create an off-the-books sort of squad to get rid of the people. And Mickey Cohen's organization and everybody else. So they hire...
They want to get rid of everybody.
Everybody.
They're basically wiping out the city.
All the terrible people in the city. So they assemble... it's led by Josh Brolin, who is Sergeant John O'Mara, and it's he winds up recruiting. Actually, his wife winds up recruiting Ryan Gosling, Anthony Mackie, Giovanni Ribisi, Michael Pena, and T-1000. What the hell is his name?
Robert Patrick.
Yes. Incredible in that movy, by the way.
Does he play T-1000 in this?
He doesn't. He plays this southern shooter that uses an amazing handgun and destroys people with it. But the cool thing about the movie is that it has moxie. It has life. It has a lot of charismatic characters. But it falls short because that's really all it really has. And the sad part is... I think it's very heavily related to kind of the edit that took place with all the controversy with the Dark Knight shooting. I'm sorry. Now, the third act was the part that was supposed to be the big scene with the movie theater shooting and all that stuff.
Which was in the original trailer that
right.
actually showed before screenings of Dark Knight, I think.
So the weird part is it falls completely flat as if it had been written prior, and then the third act was just thrown in, as it seemed to have been done.
So it really was I know we were kind of speculating that was the climactic moment of the film.
It seems
but it actually was.
It seems like it.
They replaced it with a street shootout, right?
Yeah, the street shootout
in Chinatown.
Was pretty good, but it still felt very strange. Like it felt very like studio-y. You know, you look at a scene. I don't know if you've ever seen that the follow-up to Purple Rain that Prince did. That just seemed to take place in a studio. Like it didn't look like a real neighborhood.
You're talking about Graffiti Bridge?
Yeah, it felt.
Or are you talking about Under the Cherry Moon?
Under the Cherry Moon,
the one that's black and white.
Yes, okay. Under the Cherry Moon. It felt very like small and terrible. But the movie
just like
was,
Prince.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean he's not terrible, but he's small.
Yeah, but the standout performances by, of course, Gosling, of course, Josh Brolin was so good, and Sean Penn. Sean Penn was really, really. He was It felt like Dick Tracy. It felt like. Felt like Al Pacino.
You started 4 sentences there, and they all came together in one amazing ending. He was Al Pacino.
He was Al Pacino and Dick Tracy. Tracy. He was basically that. line of the entire movie is "Here comes Santa Claus." as a Tommy gun is being shot through.
Of course.
Bushes. Yeah. Sean Penn was really good. But was
he good, or was he just like over the top fun?
It was over the top. And it felt a little uninspired. Like it and that may have been some of what was edited out. Like it felt like his motivations for just running the city didn't feel like it was good enough to warrant the things that he did. You know what I mean? He didn't have enough. The thing that makes every good villain good is that you can sympathize with him and see how, despite the fact that he's doing ridiculous things, that he justifies this in his head in a way that's reasonable, like in his world. And even then, it didn't seem reasonable. So, and the way that they resolved the problem was such a pansy, ridiculous way. One thing that was good about it was it felt very like genuine. I don't know how the 40s were, but I imagine they were full of bigotry and terribleness. But one of the cool things is there were a lot of really cool, like it was a total, like there was like fucking shit stuff like that in it. But they were like really
awesome. There was curses in it.
Funny lines were
like
like people would get really like upset, and like Josh Brolin would say, "Why don't you go get an ice cream?" Like that's hilarious. Like you would say way more profound things if you got mad at somebody, but that's kind of the vibe that they were going for, like Dick Tracy-ish sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's decent enough. I'd say check it out. It falls flat the third act. Like when I say falls flat, it like you feel kind of dirty. Like I waited for this amazing sort of first, second act, and then it just falls completely flat. But it happened. It had to do with that shooting. So
for Ruben Fleischer, how does it stack up to like Zombieland?
It doesn't.
In terms of the style.
And I mean, style-wise, a lot of the stuff that they showed in the trailer, they don't really even show in the movie. You know, that kind of like follow cam sort of thing? It's like shaky, kind of panicked sort of look to it. That didn't happen at all. It happened like twice when he was punching somebody and was really out of context. And I thought it was going to be a lot more like he was running from things and guns were being shot. It didn't really feel as stylized as it looked in the commercial. It really wasn't. So, yeah.
So sort of a
yeah. I enjoyed it for the most part, though. I'm not going to say I hated it. I really enjoyed it. But it's not. Third act was so terrible that I can't say that this was a great movie.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we experienced that to some extent recently with Jack Reacher, where we all sort of had fun, but we really couldn't say it was good at the end.
You know.
So
if you're gonna have a turd in your life, it may as well be one that's frozen and it's not melting all over your carpet. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not really sure. Ronald, I would say if you're gonna have a turd in your life, it's better to leave it in the toilet. Don't worry about freezing it and then putting it on the carpet.
You know when you
have the forethought to say, I should probably freeze it so it doesn't melt.
Yeah, right.
You know
on
when
the carpet,
you like,
or at least prolong.
You ever
the
walk a dog? You have to clean up the turds, and you rather them be solid turds than just
the mushy ones that kind of melt into the soil.
Yeah.
So okay, you're saying gangster. Okay,
so Gangster Squad is what?
Gangster Squad, a solid turd, says Ronald James of Movie Schmovie. I think that's a pull quote for the poster.
A solid turd.
I think they're hard up for some pull quotes. So.
Right. So third act just ruined it for me. So
all right,
Gangster Squad.
So what movie would be a runny turd? Like what's your example of like a messy dog shit?
That's a good. Ghost Rider.
I knew you were going to say that. Thank you. I was going to jump in and steal the thunder, but I knew you would not let me down.
It was so bad.
Oh, man.
He didn't want to give you the pleasure, Steve.
No, you had to take it.
Yeah, I had to take it. I talked that movie up. I can see. I
love your ownership over this right now. It's great.
You know what's weird? You see a person lose faith in you as a person when you start to say things that just don't make any sense. I sounded like I had a worm in my brain that was. I was like, "This movie's going to be great." He's looking at me like, "I can't believe I'll have this podcast."
It was a what the fuck moment when we were recording. I'm like, did I completely miscalculate who I'm starting this podcast with? Because he's very excited.
It was so
for Ghost
bad.
Rider. Ghost Rider 2. Let's make sure we clear that up. Ghost Rider 2, the sequel.
So bad.
So many unanswered questions.
Yeah, I mean, Ronald obviously was very uneasy about the way it ended.
Man.
He needed some closure.
How much shittier can Nicolas Cage get in this movie? That's what I thought. And then
you were just surprised by the diarrhea that it became.
It exceeded my expectations.
See, here's why I think Nicolas Cage is in an interesting point in his career is that we all think that nothing he does can surprise us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
right.
He's primed to do something truly batshit insane.
Right. He should have been a Big Daddy and
he should have at least been on the list. Yeah.
Django Unchained. That would have been interesting. I would have been like, oh, Nicolas Cage.
Quentin Tarantino wouldn't have been the worst accent in the film. I can confirm that right now. If Nicolas Cage was playing Big Daddy,
that accent was so bad.
I was talking to some people last night who were just not Quentin Tarantino fans, and they weren't like not getting it. They just were, they were sort of like everything that I think we kind of like about his style, they don't like.
Oh yeah,
and it was just shocking to be like. Normally, if you're in a kind of conversation about movies, Quentin Tarantino, you don't feel like it's a risky topic to say, "Oh, I saw Django Unchained." It was just the worst I'd seen it turn against Quentin Tarantino in a conversation.
Wow. Was it at M. Night Shyamalan level?
It was that I was going to say. I was just about to compare it to that.
Get like that, like they're like, "Fuck that guy, he should die." Right. I don't understand why he's making. That's crazy.
What people are saying, but they were talking about the sort of like the lack of representation of sort of real history and the sort of like exploitation aspects and the fact that everything he does is just a reference to another movie. I mean, all the kind of stuff that you think is kind of fun about him if you're into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you can't really defend against those allegations, but you can say, I don't think
you missed it.
I don't think you're supposed to judge these movies. Like if you don't understand the fun of kind of a grindhouse style revenge thriller about a topic that doesn't normally get that treatment, then whatever. Yeah.
That's something that I don't want as I watch more and more movies. We just consume a lot of movies, us, the three of us. I just don't want to be too uppity about my taste in movies, man. I feel like I can fall back and watch a Ghost Rider 2 or Dread or something like that and not feel like, oh, this is too much for me to watch this atrocious piece of trash directed by a second rate. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I don't want to do that.
Like all your remakes,
I think when you're watching a lot of movies too, if a movie is not that great, you're already moving on. You're not sitting there dwelling.
You're thinking about what you're doing next. Well, I don't know. I'm looking forward to Gangster Squad. I still want to see it. I'm going to see it this weekend, and I'll drop my 2 cents a little later.
Yeah,
I did read one review where they said that Ryan Gosling and particularly Josh Brolin, they said that those two guys in their roles were really good. Like that they were that they kind of played what you were talking about, that kind of fun, snappy.
You watch Boardwalk Empire? He sounds like a lot, and in that movie, he sounds like what's the name of the shaky guy with the funny laugh?
Mickey Doyle. Is it Doyle?
He sounds like just like him in this movie. He's like, if he catches you, he's gonna kill you.
Yeah,
it's a lot
Gosling
of
sounds like
Gosling sounds like that in a lot of.
I can sort of hear that in the trailer.
It's kind of weird. He doesn't talk very much, and when he does, it's like this really lighter.
See that we might want to keep an eye on Gosling because Nicolas Cage started out with a lot of credibility and then started doing weird voices. So we got to keep an eye on Gosling. Watch the hairline, guys.
Right.
Watch the hairline.
Back
hairline. All right, so transition right now.
Yeah,
is what this happening.
That's what that's what we in the business we call a smooth transition.
Watch the hairline, guys. Speaking of hairlines,
how about that? Yeah, that's
so moving on to our feature.
How about that hair trigger tension?
Where's our little sound effects, John? Where's your little guitar?
I could put them in post.
Okay. So we actually all were able to see our feature film this week, which is a movie we've all been looking forward to on our want to see list.
Jingle All the Way.
You just made me.
Oh, you missed that?
You just made me think of a movie that doesn't exist that I would go see called Django All the Way.
Yeah, I was like, I thought you said Django Unchained. I was like, what?
I was trying to say it like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, but we're talking about Zero Dark 30, the new film, Kathryn Bigelow, written by Mark Bowl, to kind of switch over to, I guess, a little more of a serious tone in terms of subject matter. It's kind of weird to like think when I left the theater after the movie, it was weird for me to sit back and say, like, this is really all about something that happened like a year ago.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of films, like I think we've all enjoyed Argo this year, movies that are talking about, or even Lincoln, which I admittedly have not seen yet, and I apologize. But, that deal with history moments, things that happened in American history that we've been removed from and that have since, been explored multiple times, or with the sense of Argo, like revealed at a certain point and then developed. Where this is something that really hasn't been around. It's like the hunt for Osama bin Laden has been going on for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
But then when it happened, literally, it's like a year ago. It's
Right.
kind of crazy to think about the thought that went into a film like this, the production, a lot of journalistic investigation, I'm sure, by things that were revealed.
Well, they were actually working on a movie set in 2001 about an attempt on bin Laden where he got away.
Right.
And then while they were working on that, I think it was Kathryn Bigelow and Mark Bowl. And then we got him when they were working on it, and so then they kind of scrapped that idea, and they used a lot of their research to dive into the new story. So yeah, I mean, it's like it really was like ripped from the headlines, even more so that they actually changed the movie they were making based on what was happening in the real world.
Is it too soon to make a movie like this? That's what I was thinking about as I was watching it.
I mean, that's kind of what I was getting to. Like, I didn't leave the theater feeling that way at all. I mean, I guess because one of the things I tried to think about it was, a lot of these movies that I just referenced were like Argo and Lincoln this year, but other films in the past few years are about times that I wasn't around for. Like, I didn't have any. Obviously, I had an emotional connection to it because of what it did to a people or to a nation or whatnot. But I wasn't there to experience it. I wasn't there to relate to it, to say the moment in the film, the payoff in this film. In those other movies, I could not sit there and say I knew exactly where I was when that happened.
Yeah.
In a parallel thought for me, I was like, when Osama bin Laden was assassinated or when he was killed, in the film, I can say, oh my God, I know where I was, like, that exact time. And that was a weird experience for me because I don't know many movies that I've ever had that thought process. And
So true.
I thought it was actually pretty amazing for me to think about it like that.
Yeah, it is.
And then talking to my friends after seeing it, it's the same thing. It was like the same consensus. It was like, we were saying, is it kind of too soon to do a movie like this? Like, is it not kind of been able to unfold and kind of simmer down and maybe more information to be revealed to maybe make a more accurate film? Because there's been some accusations about accuracy and whatnot.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But it's amazing to me, though, the experience to walk out of a theater and be like, a year ago, I was doing X. And that's what that was just about. And it's like a cultural, historic thing that I now am a part of. And, my kids. And when they see a movie like this, it's like, I don't know. It's nothing I've experienced before with a movie.
What do you think, Ronald? Too soon?
I think that I think part of it is that it became, and I know it's not for everybody. If everybody's watching it, it's a different sort of thing now because it's so soon. It becomes a movie where you're like in your head kind of cheering where you necessarily wouldn't have, because I was like, for example, Argo, I was cheering for the event because it was a movie about something I didn't know about.
Right.
Whereas this one feels different because my mom was in DC when it all happened, and
you felt that bloodlust.
You felt,
yeah. The movie wasn't making you think about bloodlust that you never felt.
Right. So it feels different. So to see the people on screen looking for that, and then I'm feeling it, I'm like, wow, this feels weird. Because I'm not a hateful person, but you can't help but want justice to be brought for a man that may or may not have been responsible for all of this chaos.
Well, I mean, at the very least, he had become the most recognizable symbol of that chaos.
Yeah, he's a figurehead.
And if there was a target that we could have had for our hate and our revenge, I mean, maybe he was it. But I mean, I do think that like the movie doesn't spend a lot of time examining those issues, but I think the way they did it, the question of whether it's too soon is almost irrelevant because they did it, whether it's accurate or not. I mean, I think anytime you make a movie, you're going to force a certain perspective, and you're going to. We talked about it a little bit with some of the documentaries we've seen with the reenactments, where just by showing an audience something, you sort of suggest that this is the way it really happened. Yeah. So this movie, you can say they. I think they presented it in an almost journalistic way. They tried very hard to stay factual and to not have moral judgment being part of the story, but just by virtue of showing it, yes, you're right. I mean, it is maybe an account that will be refuted in the days to come, but just the way they did, like, I mean, I think there's room for so many different complicated reactions to what was going on in the story that you can maybe say, well, maybe it was accurate or inaccurate, but it was certainly not simplistic in its portrayal. And I've been sort of surprised to see how much of the debate has been over whether the movie glorifies torture, when I really don't think that. I mean, not only do I not think it does, but I don't think that that's really an issue for a movie that just tries to present torture. But I think the crucial element is that it's ambiguous in the movie whether torture works even in the context of the movie. So it's not like the movie's saying this all worked great. I don't know. I think all the topics that are sort of hot topics in this movie are interesting to think about and to talk about, and that the movie doesn't really force you to come down on one side or the other.
I mean, I enjoyed that part. I did also.
You enjoyed that part?
I enjoyed
the waterboarding.
Well, no,
I like a good waterboarding.
I enjoyed that it was like more journalistic.
Is that a nice towel that they're using?
I'm always conflicted about what it is that we're doing over there. Even with all the stuff like, I think we, for better or worse, we manufacture these people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We manufacture these people that hate America as a result.
I think it's debatable how much
policing
of the
country. You know what I mean?
Right. Like I think if you don't consider that notion of how our actions in the world, whether they're perceived correctly or not, how people react to them, if you don't take some responsibility for that, then you're kind of putting blinders on.
Yeah. The world police thing that we do is a weird thing. So to see it all happen the way it does, to see you forget that these events are all connected. You forget the London thing. You forget the random New York where the thing
that stopped.
The thing that stopped. So you forget that these things are all connected and it happened in front of us.
And they tied in the shoe bomber guy. They had a reference to him, in the interrogation.
So you forget that all these things are these events are connected or assumed to be connected. Mm-hmm. And then to see it all played out the way it's played out is pretty phenomenal.
I don't know. The one thing I kind of been reading a lot about and trying to really kind of decide where I come down on which side is, I think there's like two different conversations going on about whether the film promotes torture, promotes it, or whether or not it actually is kind of glorifying it. Mm-hmm. I don't think at all that the film glorifies torture.
Right.
I didn't walk away from this movie once thinking anything beyond, like, I didn't leave the movie thinking that, like, the government didn't participate in activities like this. Like, I'm not thinking that they're saying something happened that didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? But the one thing that I think I have more issue with, and I still think that I don't feel like the film promoted it, but I think that's where the real argument is whether or not it promoted torture, whether or not it's saying that because of the waterboarding and the box and like these methods, that's what led to the information that led to the killing of Osama bin Laden. That's where I think the real argument is. But a lot of what I've been seeing and reading here,
and even that's ambiguous in the movie. You could read into it that it was, you could read into it that it wasn't.
And that's what I'm saying. I think that they kind of successfully.
By the way, that's what ambiguous means. Is that it could be one, it could be two different things.
I think that's where the filmmakers and even the screenwriter kind of come down on the right side. Is that they kind of don't come on a side at all. I feel like it's pretty neutral in that sense. I don't think that the movie at all correlates those early torture scenes, which happen in the first 45 minutes, and that's really all you see with it.
And it's pretty brutal and pretty drawn out.
It absolutely is. But I mean, if you were to ask me, I think that happens. And maybe even still to this day. I mean, which is sad. With things that have happened since this movie took place. But I never once would watch this movie and be like, hold on a second, like that didn't happen. Like I'm sure that didn't happen. That didn't lead to Osama bin Laden being found and located. Like, I believe that had a bearing on it. I don't know that was the reason that they found him. And I don't think the movie ever says that. If anything, the movie almost leads down a path at a moment where it's a dead end. Like, the information being gathered from these scenes are a dead end. They actually question at a point in the film, how reliable is the information that you get from these people when they are under these extreme situations and circumstances.
So, like, when the movie itself has a conversation about this, how could you possibly
say that it's one way or the other? Yeah. And I think that's really interesting that people are, like, hating on the film.
Yeah.
For that. And I think the gentleman that started it, like the guy from The Guardian, like he didn't even see the movie before he wrote this whole thing. And I don't think if he'd never written that, it wouldn't even be a controversy. I honestly don't. And I mean, I'm no authority. We just do this podcast, but I can't believe that it's so strongly suggesting that this film is promoting that.
You're not certified by the authority?
No, not yet. I'm working on it, John.
I thought this was an authauthority certified podcast.
Have you guys renewed yours or
we need to?
I'm fully licensed.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah, I have the temporary tag right now.
You know what I'm saying though,
yeah,
right?
No, I know what you mean.
And I kind of get a little passionate about it because it's a movie. Like it's not a documentary.
We have with people getting bent out of shape about movies. we were talking about things getting pushed back. We were talking about when they edit movies.
Sure.
I think in general, we're sort of pro art and we're sort of pro movie.
Absolutely.
And so to us, like, I guess what I'm saying is a movie that was more pro torture than this movie, I would argue, well, someone can make that movie if they want to. You can't really get mad at a movie for having a point of view, but this is a movie that I think tries really hard to not like stay safe, but just tries very hard not to, I think I said it already, but tries not to pass judgment. Like the camera doesn't judge what it sees much in this movie. It has a very, very real kind of you're fly on the wall kind of way of presenting things. And to me, that whether you take issue with the specifics or maybe some of the, I mean, I could see people saying that it kind of glorifies this essentially kind of violent act that's pretty gory, but even that in the movie is presented as kind of a sad, like it plays as, the triumph of the film has a mournful undercurrent to it. So there's really nothing easy about this movie. And I think that people who say, it's saying one thing or the other are shutting down the thought that the movie's supposed to provoke.
There's something kind of scary about it though. I mean, like you say, so for us, it's just a movie, but
I don't think.
Well, I guess. Well, the scary part about it to me is like the idea.
I know it was based on real events. And
No. I guess I mean for like
Wreck-It Ralph is just a movie.
I don't mean like.
Else.
I mean,
oh, Steve.
I mean the idea that like if something's so heavy. So for us, it's American history and like 9/11 related oriented things, but for somebody that's in the Middle East, seeing this depiction of how it all happened, it becomes something totally different. It's their hero being murdered on screen, depicted by us, the heroes taking someone out. That's what I'm just talking about from a event based thing. That's the part that has. When I watched it, I got scared. I was like, "Whoa, that's very scary." It felt very.
But I don't know how many people there are that aren't terrorists that have Osama bin Laden as a hero.
Yeah, I was going to just
like
say
a
that.
hero, like a real hero, like maybe a cultural figure. Like there's a lot of sort of cultural contrarians who would say. Like, okay, he's no worse than, I mean,
right. I guess,
like, granted, we trained him, we propped him up. I think there's a lot of arguments against the way we handled the whole origin.
I guess I mean the whatever the polar opposite of a patriotic person, the opposite of that has to sit kind of weird with people.
I think that just symbolically there was this sort of, so we can get the bad guy. I mean, we can't. Someone who we know played a role in doing this awful thing, we can get them. But does it change? Does it make us safer? No. I mean, I think that like in the movie, to me, it's seen as a hollow sort of. I mean, I don't want to say that totally, but I do think it's played as kind of a hollow victory.
It is. No, I think it is.
I think
so
it
in
is
that
too.
sense, I think that what you're talking about is already taken care of by the movie. That the movie goes ahead and says, "Oh, by the way, what did this really accomplish?" You know what I mean? But I guess if someone was a really big fan of Bin Laden, maybe they would.
Yeah, I mean, just probably a fan club. It's like president.
I guess that was a little extreme, but I guess I mean just not an American supporter. There are lots of people that dislike us as a country. I'm just saying, like, there's a response. It's a big thing. Like,
well, I guess what I'm getting at is that I think this movie's more even-handed than a lot of really jingoistic, action movies can be, where the bad guys really are just like, put a turban on him and give him an accent, and it wasn't like bad guy,
all of the Middle Eastern people had like red eyes. They're like, It wasn't like that, but it's just I can't help but worry, as a person who considers the both sides of things, because I think that all of it. For what it's worth, was a very well played movie. It didn't feel too biased. It didn't feel too heavy handed in the message. It felt like it was delivered properly. I didn't think I would feel so weird about the third act. I thought I was gonna be like, get Bin Laden. I'm like, man,
I think that's one of the major successes of it, though.
Yeah,
when we talk about its motivations or the fact of whether there's propaganda there, it's like. Even the lead character, who is just, I mean, we can talk about Jessica Chastain in a moment, but just the last shots of the film.
You mean Carrie Mathison if she stayed on her meds? That's what I kept thinking was, okay, this is like a really good stretch of Homeland episodes for Carrie Mathison. Her hunch,
right.
It came through. The last scenes of the film, I mean, we're talking about like it kind of feeling hollow or whatnot. Like I don't think that there's any kind of rah-rah at the end. I mean, even in with the scene with the SEAL team and whatnot. But just I don't know. I just feel like I'm just really conflicted about like what a lot of the hate on the film is. I mean, I feel like a lot of people, it's like, oh, it's a movie. Oh no, it's history. It's history if there's positive things going towards it, like awards and things like that. But if there's like questions about whether things are accurate or did it condone this? Right. Oh, it's just a movie.
Well, it said based on true events. It didn't say it is true. You know what I'm saying? Based to me means there's space for a little bit of.
I mean, they're not claiming that this is a documentary, so I think that
right.
It was a bunch of really interesting things they did, like that torture scene. The guy kind of left because it felt like it seemed like he didn't seem very like attached to that sort of life, like just treating people that way, and you know what I mean. Like you have to put on this character when you're interrogating. I thought that was really interesting. Like it didn't seem like a very inaccurate portrayal of that sort of life.
You could believe that a guy. And I think that actor was well chosen. We're talking about Dan, the sort of
Jason Clarke.
Yeah,
Jason Clarke.
I thought he was well chosen. Like I thought that he conveyed a kind of intelligence and a kind of character that he sort of seemed likable, but he was doing this incredibly hard thing, And I thought the movie was full of little performances like that, where people were just, playing what you could believe would be the type of person who could be doing this extreme thing and engaged in this crazy behavior, but like how you would have to develop your personality to try to handle that world, Like he didn't seem like a bad guy, but he definitely seemed like there's a darkness to this essentially torturer that we're watching. So what else has he been in?
He was in Lawless.
Yeah, great in Lawless.
He's been in a lot of random movies. He was in that. This is random. He was in that. I think the Death Race remake. Do you remember this with the?
He was in Death Race.
He was like the guard or like the prison guy that like was watching over them.
I like Death
Race. He's one of those faces we talked about this before. Like this movie is full of those faces that
he's also in Public Enemies.
Right, Public Enemies. He people you recognize, Fincher, you don't know them.
He always casts bit parts with character actors,
and he's going to be in a Great Gatsby.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. This was like going to be a year for him because those three films were supposed to be big films, but Gatsby was pushed back. But I thought he was great. Who else were we talking about? Kyle Chandler's in it. He was great. Some people in smaller roles, like James Gandolfini, is in there. In like 2 scenes, literally.
Yeah. He's hard to understand. I thought that was just Sopranos and a couple other movies. James Gandolfini is very hard.
You mean his
voice?
His voice, really?
It's very hard to understand him, man.
I haven't had an issue understanding him.
He doesn't sound like he's eating things all the time.
That actually brings up another point that I was asking you guys about before we recorded. Was like I was trying to find more information about like who these people are actually based on, and that's what some of the criticism is because when you take the point that this is a film and that the characters aren't based on actual people, or they may be sourced from other people, but they're not an actual person.
Yeah.
I didn't, you really couldn't find a lot of names, and there really are none. I mean, there's a lot of references like James Gandolfini's character being Leon Panetta.
Yeah.
And, other characters like the director of the counterterrorism unit that's called the Wolf in the film, who is a converted Islam in the film, and there actually is a gentleman who was the director of counterterrorism who was a converted Islam, but I don't know. I think the problem is like you can say that a lot of like basically everybody else besides them, you could basically be saying that they're based off of some melting pot of all of these agents. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
they do
the people that are the faces of an agency like Panetta who would make that decision.
Right.
You can't say that that's not him.
Well, also you can't look at a picture of Panetta. James Gandolfini definitely was made up to look like Panetta.
He's not called that in the film. Right. They don't reference him as that. He's the director. You know what I mean? But I think that's like, you can't avoid that when you're trying to make a movie about true events, not calling them by name, whatever you want to get into it. But I mean, I think that was kind of cool though how they did that. Like, there's no real identification of these agents. Maya, Jessica Chastain's character, is not some woman named Maya.
Right.
She is based on somebody that Kathryn Bigelow and Mark Bolt did research on, and it may have been more than one person or whatnot. But that's a figure because of how many agents there were and because of their nature to be kind of under the radar. We would never know that, and we don't need to know that.
Right.
The people that are the face of it, the people that were on TV, that are, in the journal, newspapers talking about it and addressing the press, you can't not have it be that guy.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really handled well. And I mean, even by not calling them by name, and I don't know, that was a side, but when
but it's interesting.
I
I think all the characters that, you were talking about the kind of composite character idea, where maybe there's 3 or 4 analysts that are probably shoved into one character to make it easier to watch in a movie and that sort of thing. But I thought that, like, I don't know if Mark Strong's character George is based on anybody actual, but I thought he really made an impression in that role. And I think we were talking earlier about the conversation between him and the national security advisor played by Stephen Delane, where it's who's in Game of Thrones and was in the John Adams miniseries on HBO.
Jefferson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great in that.
He was really good. And he made a real impression in that scene. And maybe because they're writing a fictionalized version of a real character, they can kind of crystallize all these complex things into a really good scene of dialogue between 2 characters. Yeah. If you were married to the historical record, I think you would have to kind of tiptoe around some of that stuff. But in this case, they can sort of say, well, here's how it might have happened, and here's the type of thinking that was going on. Right. And I thought in that sense, it was written in a way that in general, the acting was that kind of transcendent acting where you just feel like you're in the room with these characters. There were a few moments where I felt like there was an actorly moment, but most of it was very underplayed. Like even Harold Perrineau was underacting for once, Yeah. And I thought the way
that's a rare occasion.
The way that it moved around amongst the characters too, with kind of a shifting point of view, was really kind of cool to me. Like at first you're following Maya and you expect it to really stay over her shoulder. There would be scenes where things were happening that she wasn't privy to.
Sure.
And you always notice that. You're always like, oh, she doesn't. In general, it was still sort of her story. But I liked the fact that you were seeing that once this hunch starts to play out about where Bin Laden might be hiding and how they might track him, that everyone who gets involved kind of like. It's all about how everyone kind of buys into her hunch, Right. Sure. Which again, it reminded me a lot of Homeland.
I like that it wasn't like an immediate thing too.
Right.
Like I like that it was like a steady thing. They're like, oh yeah. Right. You keep saying that, all right. And then her credibility obviously in question because it's the first thing that she had ever really covered of this magnitude. She was an intern up until this point and really had been kind of under the wings of people. An organization, and this was the first big thing, so nobody trusted her.
And they didn't overplay that either. They didn't overplay the whole she's a rookie kind of thing, which would have been annoying, but they did it just enough. Like
I think that's also like a takeaway from the film is that all of the main characters in the film, they don't really overplay any of them. You don't really get much backstory of anybody. You get them in that moment. You get a little bit of the motivation for Maya's character. There's a scene like with another female agent that she's kind of developed a friendship with that becomes maybe more motivation for her with this. She's got tunnel vision on this objective, and that's really all we know about her character, which I thought was great because it doesn't distract me from anything else in the film. Right. This is a woman, talking about female leads in a lot of films. This is a woman that's like not dependent on being a victim of something,
over sexualized
or by like. Or tagged to a man, in most films. And that's unique
nor is it all about her struggling against the sexism of the situation that she's in.
Sure,
sure. It reminds me of a line that really stood out, which is when there's after a scene where they've had a briefing, and I guess it's Leon Panetta, and he's getting on the elevator with his aide, and he basically asks his aide, "What do you think of her?" And the guy says, "She seems really smart." And he says, "We're all really smart."
You're right.
I thought that was a really cool, like to me, that's what I felt like with earlier when I was talking about the torturer guy, Dan. Just the fact that he seemed, he didn't seem like a brute. He seemed like a smart guy. Like he seemed like he was doing what tactically had to be done. I think that in that scene, that room with the first scene with James Gandolfini was kind of like you started to see all these threads come together. Like all the different characters were kind of in that scene. Yeah. You got to see how they all felt about this hunch of hers. Moments like that were so cool. And kind of could have been so movie-ish, but they were very underplayed. It just took you a moment to look around that room and go, "Oh, cool! All the characters I've been kind of following are here for this moment." I thought that was even Mark Duplass. I thought had a nice little
he was great. I thought he was good in it.
So in that sense, it was a very
I really like Mark Duplass.
Very actorly, very naturalistic movie. That these big moments were happening that you didn't really feel like were big moments because it seemed like this is just what these people do all day, every day is analyze this information.
That's exactly what I thought, and that
was really cool.
I kind of
and even in that scene, there's a guy who says it's a 60% chance, and it's like another guy says I think it's a soft 60. I love this idea that people are like these guys are experts at like crunching numbers on what the best use of life. Like we're gonna put soldiers on this. We've got to make sure that it's worth the risk to do it. And I thought that part of it was really interesting. That
these are all.
It's all about getting enough evidence to make a move.
These are all analysts, and that's all they're doing is pushing together probabilities.
Right.
I just love that whole scene because like she's like the woman in the room. She's the surefire. No one ever says 100% usually. I feel like there's probably hardly ever 100% in those analysts' eyes. And she's an agent, you know, and she's in the moment. She's dedicated 10 years to this, and this is what she wants. And, you know, I thought that scene was awesome.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, just the idea that somebody's going to take everything and invest it in this idea that's just a hunch, and it could fail, people could die. And she did it, and it was well played. I didn't feel like
it plays really well when she meets the Navy SEALs later, and she basically they kind of mutually ball bust for a second there, and end up with a little bit of respect for each other. But you know, like Chris Pratt, he kind of like he gives her a little bit of hell for the fact that this. Oh, so you're sure this has Bin Laden? We've been down this road before. You know, we've lost guys to this kind of mission before. I thought those moments were, again, I think there was a little bit of moviness to it. Like her character, she does have that kind of, you know, there's a lot of movies about that sort of driven character. That is, so it's like that is kind of a hero character, but still with a very gray area. It was never simplistic, you know.
But like what? But where I feel like it's different with her or this character specifically is what is her motivation?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's the variable that I think is working really well because, like I said just a few minutes ago, it's like she's no victim, she's no love interest, she's nothing that's like attached to anything that we saw happen in this movie. One scene, you know, there's a little bit of like, you know, motivation halfway through the film, but otherwise it's like she's just doing her job, you know, and I think that was kind of that's what I liked a lot about the character. But I know what you're saying though, and
I'm saying but I guess to finish my thought, I thought they came up to those moments and they handled them really well. Like you still sort of rooted for her and felt like, oh, she's a little bit of a badass, but it was still as underplayed as it possibly could have been to have that type of character.
It was weird that scene actually when they first had the conversation with the SEALs. It's like that's the only part of the movie that I actually, when we talk about the whole like promoting the torture, that's the only part of the movie where they actually say it links, like which. You know what I'm talking about? Like where she's like, they're like, well, where'd you find that out? And she says something about information gathered from the detainee program. Yeah. That's the only like legs that I think anybody would have to stand on.
What did you think of the choice to have the recordings at the beginning?
Again, I mean, that's kind of a ballsy move if you're saying your movie's fiction. I mean, like I think that's a lot of the criticism that people are saying, well, if this is a movie based on events, why actually include the real recordings?
Just to be clear, at the beginning of the movie, over a black screen, they play 911 recordings of people, I guess, that were in the towers when they were going down and stuff, and it's pretty horrific. I mean,
agreed. Yeah,
I knowing it was coming, I still kind of. I had my heart in my throat during that part and was like, oh God, like I almost, part of me didn't want to be taken back to that day and the way it felt on that day. But do you think it set the tone for just, do you think it just puts you in the mind? Like, I agree with you, Steve, that it's a little strange to do a fictionalized account after that, but did it at least kind of bring back that feeling that you had on September 11th?
Absolutely. I'm just saying, I only made that comment because that's, again, like I'm really been, because it really bothers me. But I mean,
I'm on the
do you know what I'm saying though? Like, and when I read that, I did kind of agree with it a little bit, but I think it worked for me, and I think it works. I think it will work for most people, like the audience that's going to go see this film. Even though it's only a year removed, that's 10 years ago.
Yeah, and it still feels raw.
Like, and I mean, you hear that call, and it's like, okay, I'm back in that moment now. Yeah. Again, an event that I can tell you where I was at college when I heard about it. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, it's just it just makes it more relative to me, and I don't think there's any issue with, you know, kind of including that because it puts perspective on it for me. Yeah. And, I don't know. I didn't really find anything wrong with it, but
I think it was
it crossed my mind what's the motivation for it? I asked that question. What's the motivation for it if this is a fictional film? But experiencing it, I can identify what the motivation was.
It was a device. Like it because like you said, we're so far removed from 9/11 that there had to be some sort of device to remind you what it was that made that day so crazy. It was the death and the screaming and the
because maybe if that hadn't been there, the abstract aspect of trying to get Bin Laden, the symbolic nature of that, might have felt like kind of it might have been too hollow of a cause. Yeah. But with that, it does bring back those feelings of like, there's some retribution to be had. Whether we agree, you know, that feels very Old Testament kind of to want an eye for an eye. But I think we still have that voice in our heads. Whether we end up being worse off at the end of that process or not, I think we all sort of, you know, this movie definitely plays on that notion of here you go, here's your revenge, you know. So.
I think sometimes I would have totally not been so involved if I didn't hear that at the beginning.
Sure.
Because 9/11 was terrible, but also 10 years ago.
Right.
So I was like, oh, whoa. I totally forgotten. I was like laying on a couch watching TV. And I remember seeing those towers and losing service and not being able to call my mom and having to pick my sister up from school and having friends in D.C. and New York. And I remembered everything. I remembered everything in that moment. It was crazy. So.
What final thoughts? What did you think of the sort of overall structure of the movie, like just the way it was put together as a movie? Did you enjoy it?
I actually really enjoyed like the transitional scenes, like with the title cards, kind of telling us what we were about to kind of witness.
It reminded me of a Kubrick movie, the way it takes place in movements, where like here's a chunk of story, and then it like that's 45 minutes, and then it's almost a little movie, and then it jumps forward.
It had to be like that. It had to be like no momentum at first, and then because that's how it was. Like they had no information. They were kind of fishing for a little bit.
Or even when they had information, they just took forever to do it. Like, John, you were talking about the scene where she's writing the numbers on the wall or on the glass.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same thing. I mean, it's a slow burn until something happens.
Yeah.
What do you think of the strange choice to have the words "for your consideration" appear periodically on screen and then disappear slowly? Was that...
Wait, I didn't see that.
Yeah. What?
Wait, I must have blinked. Yeah. That's right, what that was. I think all around, I mean, we all seem to enjoy the film. I don't know.
Yeah,
recommend it.
I mean, it's a weird movie to say enjoy. I think I say that sometimes. I've already said that, though. I'm not calling you out. But I think it's hard to say enjoy about some movies. But I think in general, on this show, we try to talk about the experience of watching a movie. Sure. And it's a movie I would watch again, regardless of the grim subject matter. I would watch it again for the story and for the movie making.
Absolutely. Agreed. I just mentioned the Oscars. Yeah, that's another.
Yeah, speaking of for your consideration.
Speaking of, yeah. This week the Oscar nominations came out. A lot of, I guess, expected nominees. I guess we wanted to just kind of take a moment, not to kind of go long on it, but to maybe just talk about, since we're talking about Zero Dark 30, maybe a few, and we've actually referenced a couple of films that were also going to be in this category, maybe a few snubs that didn't get acknowledged. And I think the biggest one is the director of Zero Dark 30.
Yeah. Especially
Kathryn
given
Bigelow.
that she won for her last movie.
Yeah, 2009 she won for, the Hurt Locker director, Best Picture. And I think also screenplay that year. Mark Bowl, I think, won screenplay for that as well. Although he did get nominated. She did not, which is so odd to me.
Same thing happened to Tarantino.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you so I'm looking at the Best Picture, and the Best Picture has like 1, 2, 3.
Isn't there another
5,
movie that got nominated
7,
that the director
8,
didn't?
9.
Argo.
There's 9 movies for Best Picture.
Yeah.
You can't have.
No, there's 5 for director.
There's 5 for director.
There's a maximum of 10.
Yeah, which automatically you do the math. It's going to snub 4 people if you're looking for that pair of film director, which is usually a good sign.
Yeah.
For being a strong contender. And it makes me worry about where, or I guess how it's going to affect the Oscars in terms of, I have not seen Lincoln yet, but it almost makes me think that that's honestly the film.
That seems like a very
very
boring. If it's a Lincoln sweep, as much as I admired aspects of that movie, I would be bored by a Lincoln.
I actually don't think
sweep.
it's going to be a Lincoln sweep. I think that Beasts of the Southern Wild is going to win Best Picture.
Wow.
Yeah. And
it is one where the director was also nominated, as well as Michael Haneke's Amour.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a surprise.
Both of those are sort of like prestige nominations. I mean, those are guys who for different reasons, it kind of looks good to have in there.
Oh man, how you feel about Best Actor?
I mean, I feel like it's going to go to Daniel Day-Lewis, hands down. But really? I would. I mean, Joaquin's my boy.
I want Joaquin,
particularly in that role. I think Daniel Day-Lewis, although I do think both those guys are kind of playing on the same level. Like if you're talking about a performance, they both do not similar things as actors, but they had a similar level of just like creating an indelible character.
Yeah.
But I think Joaquin's role was more surprising and interesting. I think Daniel Day-Lewis was brilliant, but he was almost exactly what you would have expected.
Yeah, it didn't seem like very challenging in comparison.
Yeah.
Like this guy he had an affliction. Like I'm always drawn to afflicted characters.
Right.
That's why you come down here every week and talk to me.
Talk to you too.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the biggest, I guess, focal point is the directing category, though. I mean, there's some surprises in other categories.
Absolutely.
Like, I think, I don't know. I feel like I'd almost had rather seen DiCaprio nominated for supporting actor for Django than Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been interesting. I actually think he may have been able to win that category had he been nominated. But yeah, the directing category just completely puzzles me. I think Argo, Ben Affleck not getting nominated for director, when all season, it's just been all about him. And this is also not just a movie like incredibly well made, directed, acted, all around. It's a movie that made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's a really important thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's not the end all be all, but that matters in a lot of Academy voters' eyes. And I think the one thing that I was reading is that there seems to be a little bit of distaste for actors turned directors.
Yeah.
That maybe some of the directors on the Academy that put their nominees, they don't like that apparently. Yeah. That's the case. That's crazy to me.
Because it was such a good movie.
I think it would have been. I mean, I think it already happened. Like the whole, and it's been happening. But I think Argo definitely cemented it of Affleck's transition just from an actor to a legitimate director that will make films from now on that are going to be taken seriously. But having even the nomination, I think would have been amazing for him. Having won for Good Will Hunting years ago, it just the rounding of that power would have been amazing to me.
I just find it to be. I mean, I understand the difference, and I know that the producer is the one that accepts the Best Picture award and all that kind of thing. But I've always found that strange that that you can have a Best Director and Best Picture award split. I mean, I find that odd. So it is odd to say that this movie is one of the best of the year, but we're not gonna reward the directing. It does seem like a kind of, to me, as though the Academy, it's like their way of letting you know they're not really that excited about those movies. That Argo, Django Unchained, and Zero Dark 30 are sort of like, well, we know these are good enough to be nominated, but they're not. It's not their year. That it's going to be one of these other movies. So I mean, I don't know. I can't say I'm too surprised that any of those movies might not have gotten Best Director, but that all three were up for Best Picture and not for Best Director. It does make you kind of, and then what happened? What are the other Best Directors? So it's Haneke, it's Spielberg,
Ang Lee, for Life of Pi. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah, it just bothers me so much. Well, I mean, there's always like that weird shit that happens with these nominees, and I'm actually really happy that Beast of the Southern Wild got the attention it did. I mean, it's amazing for an indie film of that stature and size to get the nominees. I think it also was it also nominated for a screenplay? I think, and I know the young girl was nominated for Best Actress. She was 6 when the film was shot, 9 now, youngest to ever be nominated. I mean, that's amazing. I love the film, by the way. I don't know if I ever talked to you guys. I did see it and I loved it. So I love the attention that it's going to get.
Best adapted screenplay.
Adapted, yeah. That's amazing to have those nominations.
It's just something about when somebody gets snubbed, what that does to a movie. It kind of disappears into obscurity because it's not Academy Award.
So what is it about Zero
nominated.
Dark 30 then? Maybe it's interesting to note why that movie would be snubbed. Like what the message is then. Like what are we? Is it that it's just too all the reasons we were talking about earlier?
I think
is
it's
it too
too
much of a hot button topic?
Yeah,
I
think so.
I mean, I think that's probably one of the possibilities.
Like it's almost like a cowardly move or a slightly safe move.
You don't acknowledge an achievement for a hot button topic or something like that. Maybe
the other snub actually is John Hawkes for The Sessions, which I remember when we saw the trailer back in the day. Remember back in the day that when we were down here. We had our oversized lollipops and our little beanies on. But yeah, like John Hawkes, we at least thought he was good for a nomination. I don't think we ever thought that movie would be one to beat, but like it's interesting to think that like in the months that have happened since then that all these other great performances have come along, and that's just one of those that got lost in the shuffle, possibly because the movie was not that great. Yeah, maybe.
I think that's a great performance and an okay film. Yeah. And I guess in the company of the other actors that were nominated, it kind of could get lost. Any other year, maybe it would have been acknowledged for it, but I mean, I don't know. I'm very interested to see how things play out for the Oscars, February 24th.
Well, with all these snubs, we're just gonna have to do our own award show.
Maybe we shall.
Maybe we shall. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that'd be fun. We should do that.
It would be.
We should do that, guys. That'd be fun.
Yeah. But coming up next week,
we have the best of episode, which is the most stressful episode for me. I have so much trouble making a list of favorite films. It literally. I have an entire Evernote notebook devoted to my best of list, and it's just like me having my pros and cons list for all the films, and where does that diagram cross, and I got like a whole like algorithm.
So what are the big ones you haven't seen yet that you think might
between now and next week? I need to see Lincoln. I need to see Life of Pi.
Yeah,
same. I want to see
films that I want to see it more. I don't know that I've in general have ever been a huge fan of Haneke, but I need to see it, especially with the nominations this week.
And it's getting like, it sounds like to me that sounds like one that I'm like, oh, this doesn't sound fun. It sounds great and brilliant, but it does not sound fun to watch at all. So,
what else? Documentary I need to see. I'm a huge fan of the documentary category. I need to see Searching for Sugar Man still.
Me too.
I was able to see Visible War and How to Survive a Plague this past week, which by the way are on Netflix Instant right now.
Oh, okay.
New additions this week. Definitely recommend both those films. Amazing documentaries, completely devastating documentaries, but well made. I think those are probably the key ones. Lincoln, Life of Pi, More. What am I missing? Anything? What do you guys have that you haven't seen? I know you, John, you need to see Silver Linings, which we didn't even mention. That's the only film to actually get the nominations in all the major categories.
Right. Yeah,
I haven't
film,
seen Silver
director,
Linings.
Actor.
It's like it's got a sort of, I mean, having not seen it, but according to everybody, it's got a crowd-pleasing undercurrent, and yet it's got all these actorly moments, and you know, it's
of all of those nominations, I feel like the strongest possibility is maybe Jennifer Lawrence, possibly screenplay. I don't know. I love that film, and that film will surely be in my top 3 or 4, if not higher. But
don't spoil it.
Don't spoiler. I don't know. I think that's really it. I mean, there's a lot of other films that I wanted to see this year that I haven't, but ones that I continually think would possibly enter my discussion with it are those probably.
Haven't seen Searching for Sugar Man. I also want to see Holy Motors. Haven't seen that yet, but I've heard a lot about that.
I want to see that.
I mean, I need to see that.
I want to see that as well.
But yeah, and then I still have not seen The Gray, and I just feel like I need to see
John,
it. I need to see
it,
it.
please.
Just
I'm not throwing any spoilers out there, but see it, John.
Yeah.
See it, John. I don't want to build it up either, John, but see it, John.
Right. So, anyone out there listening, we'd love to hear what you think was your favorite movie of the year. Actually, you did this last year.
Yeah, Ron and I did this last year, and that's actually when we met John. No, we knew John prior, but that's kind of, we're like, maybe we should include this guy.
And then
this wonderful review of The Innkeepers, a movie that weeks before we'd only torn apart.
Yeah, just a little background on that. I sent in. I listened to Schmovie, but I was not caught up, but I knew your deadline was up for your fan review. Yeah. So I sent in my little snippet about The Innkeepers, thinking maybe they haven't talked about this movie,
right?
Because it was not my favorite movie of the year by far, but I thought just here's a neat one that maybe they didn't mention. And then when I heard, like, literally minutes after I sent that in, I played the episode where you trashed The Innkeepers. And I sort of blushed. I was actually embarrassed. I was like, oh, I would have said something like, fuck you, Steve, or something in front of that review. But you know what's funny for me is I've cooled on Ty West since seeing that movie based on his contribution to VHS. So I wonder if I saw that movie now, if I would see a little bit more of the nothing there. I still think the performances would have win me over, but I think that movie has third act problems, like a lot of horror movies.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah, but back to the idea.
Last
year we had the opportunity, or we gave the opportunity for some of our friends, fans, listeners, anybody that really cares about Schmovie at all.
Yeah.
Beyond the three of us, to send us what your favorite film of the year was. So this year we decided to kind of get up with the time and not actually make you record it yourself and send it to us. But we are going to utilize this wonderful thing named Google Voice.
Yeah.
There's some awesome Google sound I'm sure we can find for that. To let you guys call in and leave us a voicemail with what your favorite film of 2012 was. We want to keep it simple. Your name, what the film was.
Your serial number.
And briefly why you chose it. Talking less than 30 seconds. We're going to go through all the submissions that we get and try to include as many as we can in next week's episode. They won't all be able to be included. So, make it sexy, make it fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just another way to kind of get more people involved. I mean, I love hearing from my friends. I talk movies all the time with all my friends. So if you want to be a part of the show next week, why not just call it in?
And if they like your recording, you never know. You may be fourth chair next year.
We do have some spare chairs.
Yeah, but there's extra chairs around.
There's extra chairs. There's a couple Poang chairs from IKEA you can hop in with a footrest and everything.
We could have an average podcast length of 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Every time.
But if you want to try to participate or just let us know what you liked, the Google Voice number to call into is 443-330-2462. You will probably hear my voice on that, but just go ahead and leave, like I said, your name, your choice in film, and why. like I said, please keep it to 30 seconds or less. That's much more likely that you will be included in the episode if you follow those guidelines.
Yeah.
But, send it out there. We'd love to hear from you guys.
The cutoff really should be
right.
Thursday, January 17th. As late as a week from now when we're recording this.
Yeah.
Well, I'll probably be doing the editing for that episode, so I can cut them in as late as that. So have them in by, let's say by the morning of Thursday the 17th.
Please.
Again, it's 443-330-2462. Leave the voicemail. Don't text to the number. Don't keep calling the number. Just leave a voicemail. We will get it, and there's a pretty good chance that you'll be a part of the best of episode, which would be awesome to include as many people as possible.
Yeah,
and it was a great year. So it's
I'm actually excited to hear some
interesting
movies that either maybe I never even heard of or saw. I mean, there was a couple last year that were like, okay, that's a good choice, but not John's. It was somebody else. But yeah, guys, please participate, and it'd be great to involve you. That's really cool, and I hope people actually do it.
You better participate.
Yeah. So Gangster Squad, recap it real quick.
Yeah.
In theaters now, wide. Zero Dark 30 in theaters now, wide. Oscar nominations
Snubs
are up there. If you have any feedback on that, feel free to email us, movieschmovie@gmail.com. Hit up the movieschmovie.net site. I'm sure we'll be posting some more, trailers and articles about the Oscars over the next couple of weeks, so we'd love to hear some feedback there. Do you guys have anything else that you want to throw down real quick? I'm waiting for Ronald's. I should never throw that out there.
Yeah,
John.
I know. You said last time that you learned your lesson. Yeah, just let's get in and out. Yeah.
Rewind that real quick.
Let me think.
Yeah.
Save it for next episode.
Yeah, save it for next episode. Go get some ice cream, kid.
Go get some pad thai. Thank you guys so much for listening as always. Feel free to hit us up in any of the avenues that we've provided, and we can't wait to talk to you next week when we talk about the best films of 2012.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
Thanks for listening, guys, and as always, you've made our day.